box. I have a whole bunch of box beams here to install. I'm going to be lifting these box beams up and I'm going to be scribing them. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to put you guys on live. Check that out. First thing I'm going to do with these beams is I'm going to put some tape on them. The tape is going to basically show me and highlight where my pencil line goes when I go to scribe it. So I'm going to take this beam, I'm going to lay it on its side, I'm going to tape it up, and yeah, and then we'll lift it. Well, I'm using a drywall lift over here to lift these beams into place. So there's a beam there, drywall lift there, a couple clamps on it, and then we have some backing up top there that this beam will straddle. So let's go ahead and put the tape on these beams. These are white oak, rusticated beams. And that means a couple things. Number one, that means that they are very forgiving with where you put fasteners because they're kind of hidden. Because there's so many, how do I put it? So many shadow lines on these beams that you can hide a screw hole pretty easily. So I'm using trim screws and just flush mounting them. It's pretty fast and easy. Anyway, we'll put the tape on, I'll flip it over, and then I will we'll lift it up. You'll see the whole process. If you do have any questions about the process, go ahead and hit them up in the comment section and I'll try to answer those for you. Or if you're viewing this after the fact and it's just a post, you can also ask questions in the comments and I will answer them in a reel or a short, I guess they call that here on the social, on the YouTube. Okay, so I'm going to lift this sucker up. I'm going to put it on the drywall lift. I think I have to move this way a little bit. Here, I'll move this so you can see it a little bit better. Better vantage point for now. Okay. Okay, let me pull you a little bit closer so you can see a little bit better what's going on. These are big beams and they're kind of heavy. And I'm installing them solo, hence the drywall lift. Oops, easy does it there. Tripod. And that's all finished cabinetry. We cannot ding that. That'd be a big no-no. So I have it on the drywall lift. I have these little toggle clamps here that basically just hold the bottom side onto the drywall lift just in case there are any issues with it tipping. But now when we get a little bit closer, we'll move it closer to the cabinetry. One thing I have to do after I get this thing up in place is I have to get it so that the bottom is level. So that if it's not level, I won't be able to scribe it. Well, I'll scribe it, but it won't finish out level. So Just put it. Yeah, that's a little bit better. There we go. Okay, so I can just lift it and just push it nice and tight, and then draw a scribe line. But then the bottom edge would not be level. I want it to be level all the way across, which is why I'm going to use this handy dandy laser. This is a 12-volt laser from Makita. It's a great little laser. I really like it. This is the first job I've used it on, so that's great. The tripod is awesome because it's super lightweight, but it goes really high, kind of like a hippie in San Francisco in 1967, if you know what I mean. Anyway, okay, let's see here. All right, so we'll lift this sucker up. Now I have another beam already installed, and I'll show that to you actually right now. So I have this other beam already installed, and so I'm just going to put that laser line just on the underside of this one. As you can see, it's kissing the edge all the way along. This is a these are textured beams, and so they're not going to be perfectly flat. So it's hard to get a perfect reference, but we'll get pretty darn close. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it up so the laser is just kissing the bottom edge of the other beam over just outside of frame. And then I'm going to lower this beam and get it so that I'll shim the top so that the bottom, the distance between the bottom of the beam to that laser line is consistent all the way along. That tells me the bottom of the beam is nice and flat. I'll be able to shim the top edge so that there's pressure from underside holding it up in place, but those shims will keep it from teeter-tottering back and forth. Uh, it should be pretty close. I think this end here is going to have to come down a little bit. This end over here. And but yeah, so we'll get the shims, and then I'll measure this sucker to see exactly where it needs to go. There we go, right there. Okay, shims. The last beam had to be adjusted by probably, I think on the scribe was 2.5 inches. It was quite a lot. Um, and so this one I'm expecting to be just as much. The ceilings in here are pretty wonky. It's an older building, so we're having to work through. Um, it's an older building that's been gutted and refinished, so it looks new, but it's old. I think the main portion of this building was built in like the 1800s or something. Old for Montana, at least. Sorry, drinking energy drinks on the go here. Where's my ladder? Right here. There's stuff on it. As always. Okay. So, ladder there, and I'll put my step ladder on the other side. I'm using my square as a reliable reference. There's more of a heel right here that I can reference on the bottom rather than just using a tape measure, because that bottom edge is scalloped and rounded over. And so to get a nice, just use a tape measure wouldn't work very well. Actually, that's not too bad. Trim this edge down just a little bit. Now it's really important too that when I'm shimming these, that I'm making sure that the box beam, the bottom of it, stays parallel with the floor. Otherwise, if I have a, how do I make it this? I have a box beam like this, and one side is higher than the other. You don't want that. So I want to make sure I'm square across the bottom. So whenever I shim on this side, I need to shim on the other side as well. Unless the ceiling is out by that much, and then that would be really, really sad. That's pretty darn close. Yeah. So I will adjust this reference so that the top of it is splitting the line, the laser line. That's one thing that you want to keep in mind, that when you're using a laser, that you're not relying on the edges of the line. The edges of the line fluctuate in width depending on how far away the laser is. So if your laser line is really close, it's probably going to be really thin. But if it's far away, it's going to be fat because the light particles spread out as they're cast. Particles, light particles, whatever. Either way, the light spreads out just like, a flashlight. The beam gets wider as it goes out. So the only reliable part of a laser is the center of the beam. Just keep that in mind. Doggone, that's pretty darn close. All right. So let me just adjust this, double check here. Okay, this is a really good example of that twisted effect. Now, I know my laser won't shine to the other side of the beam, obviously. But what I can do is measure off the top edge of that, or the underside of the crown trim on those cabinets, which should be level. And and that tells me right now that I'm 3/4 of an inch tilted on this side, which makes sense because you know these beams can be twisted a little bit. So, oh, what am I looking for? Now, to get that so that it's straight, I'm going to use this third hand to lift that one side up. My reference right over there. Now, this is also going to throw off my lasers. So I'm going to have to redo that whole section. It's closer. Okay, so that's good. Now that that's set, I'll double check my laser, make sure I'm still good, and I'm not. So I have to adjust. That sucks. Pretty tight in here. Not a lot of room. There's tile in the way. I need to go up just a tad. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Okay, we're good. The setup before Scribe is extraordinarily important. You want to make sure that everything is exactly where it needs to be before making your marks. Because who wants to have to go back and change their marks 50 different times? Not I. So now I just got to remember where I put Scribe. Oh, there it is. In the outside of my bags. Okay, now since I know that the bottom of this represents the bottom of the beam, and I know that the top of this represents where I want the bottom of the beam to be. So that means I need to take off this much distance. And you can measure it and you can set your scribes to that, but I just put my scribe right on here. Make sure that point is right on the edge. And I make it just a hair strong. So there, our scribe is set. There's a ton of scribe tools out there. Very few of them can compare to how accurate a compass scribe is. And I've adjusted mine so that it fits a Pentel 9 0.9 millimeter lead pencil. It works really well, super lightweight, and is very reliable. So anyway, I'm going to draw my scribe lines on there. I can take the laser down, get it the heck out of my way. Then after I get my scribe line set, I'm going to bring the whole thing down. I'm going to put it on the sawhorses and we're going to scribe it. All right. Okay. Okay. Okay, my scribe lines are drawn. I'm going to remove these braces. I'm going to start lowering the beam.